enjoy them. Believe me, you know that. It is no fun having the rug ripped out from underneath your feet. And then you're going, what next? And there is no answer. God is sovereign. He is in charge. He is not the author of evil. But for this time, until the Lord returns, evil has its work and is taking place and unfolding. I told you I wasn't going to be very popular this morning, and that's okay. Christianity isn't about a popularity contest. The next lie that Paul Young refers to is that God is a Christian. He says this is a lie. He means to show that it is futile and even dangerous to concern ourselves with who is a Christian and who is not. Now quoting from Paul Young. Believing, trusting is an activity, not a category. The truth is that every human being is somewhere on the journey between belief and unbelief. Even so, we perpetuate the categories of believer and unbeliever. Rather than seeing people as being believers or unbelievers, we should understand that we are all on the same path, though in different locations along it. What did Jesus say in Matthew chapter 7? He said that there were two paths. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult. There's that reference to trials again. And difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. There are two paths.
That's right.
Not everybody is on the same path. Next slide. We're going to stop here because, like I said, we could be here for hours. I will continue this next week because it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
God created my religion is the next slide that Paul Young says is a lie. Young often speaks of the beauty of relationship and the danger of religion. Thus, now quoting, God did not start religion. Rather, religion is among a whole host of things that God did not originate, but submits to because we human beings have brought them to the table. God is about relationship, and therefore any understanding of church or any community of faith that is centered on structures, systems, divisions, and agendas has its origin in human beings and not in God. Did God create religion? I don't believe it was God's intent to create religion in the way that we define it. But did God establish some institutions? Absolutely. Romans 13, verses 1 and 2, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. God is the one who establishes all authority. Good and bad. They have been placed there by God. The church, one of those institutions that William Paul Young is speaking against, saying God did not establish this. Oh, yes, he did. Because what is the church referred to by Paul? The church is the bride of Christ. Imperfect, warts and all, the church is the bride of Christ. And God established the church. What did he say to Peter? Upon this rock, I will build my church. and the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Amen.
Man didn't establish it.
Thank you, Lord.
Let the Word of God speak for itself, and it is truth. Jesus said this. He said, I will build my church. And Paul Young wants to say that it is a lie that God created. Or what about the institution of marriage? God is the one that established marriage. That is why it is futile on our part to even begin to redefine marriage. We didn't establish it in the first place. Never have, never will. We're going to jump down to one more because it will lead us into communion. Because what is communion about? Paul tells us that as often as we eat of this bread and drink of this cup, we are proclaiming Christ's death and resurrection. It speaks to the purpose of the cross.
Amen.
Paul Young says, the lie is the cross was God's idea. He refers to it as divine child abuse. If God did, then we worship a cosmic abuser who in divine wisdom created a means to torture human beings in the most painful and abhorrent manner. Frankly, it is often this very cruel and monstrous God that the atheist refuses to acknowledge or grant credibility in any sense, and rightly so. Better no God at all than this one. Oh.
Wow.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the hiss of the serpent is very subtle, and other times it is unmistakable. The alternative is that the cross originated with us human beings. This deviant device is the iconic manifestation of our blind commitment to darkness. It is our ultimate desecration of the goodness and loving intent of God to create, an intent that is focused on the human creation. It is the ultimate fist raised against God. And how did God respond to this profound brokenness? God submitted to it. God climbed willingly onto our torture device and met us at the deepest and darkest place of our diabolical imprisonment to our own lies, and by submitting once and for all, God destroyed its power. Jesus is God's best, given willingly and in opposition to our worst, the cross. I, for one, am grateful for the cross.
Amen. Hallelujah.
To call it divine child abuse is to build a straw man and then tear that straw man down. Or to somehow think that it promotes child sacrifice is another one of the statements that Paul Young makes. No, because in Hebrews, what does it tell us? That sacrifice was perfect in every way, and that since that time, no other sacrifice was necessary. So to even begin to say that we now have to perform child sacrifice because if God did it, so must we. The cross was God's idea. Before the world was ever created, God was planning for that. Why? To save us, to redeem us, because we have value. Imprinted on the heart and soul of every being is this phrase, redemptive value. As New Yorkers, you know that phrase. Because it's on every can and bottle that we buy at the store. When you buy a pop, what does it say? Redemption value. and imprinted on your very heart and soul is that phrase, redemptive value. You are valued to God. More than a nickel or a dime, or in some states a little bit more than that.
Thank you, Lord.
Your value is immeasurable. And He will go to whatever lengths possible. And He said, it's worth it for me to send my Son to the cross, to die in my place, because I'm the one. As Paul writes, the wages of sin is death. I'm the one that deserved to die. It is my sins that put Jesus on the cross. God said, it's so worth it
Amen.
for me to do this. Because you need to see and to know how much I love you and how much I value you. The cross was prophesied about in the Old Testament before they even knew about it. They had no clue. They're reading this and they're going, what is this referring to? We have no frame of mind. And we don't have a reference point for this. So it's man's idea? No. God had a plan all along to redeem mankind. Would people follow a God that couldn't demonstrate how much He loved us? Probably not. And even in spite of the fact that He has done this, still there are many who choose to reject it. Next week we're going to continue on. Because one of the greatest debates that has risen since he offered the book to Shaq was this question of, does it promote universalism or universal salvation? I'll give you a little glimpse into what we're going to get into next week. Because for years, Paul Young has denied it. He has said, no, I do not believe that. Well, now in his new book, when asked the question, do you believe in universalism? He says, yes, I believe in universal salvation. Now, he's trying to mince words here, and he's trying to set the two apart, but I did a search last night and go, all right, what is universal salvation? It's just another way of saying universalism. It is the teaching that everybody who has ever lived gets to heaven. Feels good. That would be a wonderful thing. Believe me when I say that would be awesome to see everybody in heaven. But the sad truth, and the sad and unfortunate reality is that there are many who will not be. That's for next week. But this morning, we remember the cross. We acknowledge that there is life found there. Life found in death. The irony is great. I live by dying. I find freedom in submission. Lord,